To create awesome apps, you need to design great UIs. And to integrate this UI with your code and create a nice user experience, you need to write a lot of code, right? Hi, I'm Neto Marin, and I'm here to introduce the data binding library and help you write less code. With data binding, you can move basic UI logic code from Java to your XML layout code. So no more find view by ID or sectest calls to manipulate and update your layouts. And the good news is that the data binding is a support library, so you can use it with all Android platform versions back to Android 2.1 or API level 7. The data binding library is already available under the support repository through the Android Scheme Manager. And don't forget to check if you are using Android Studio 1.3 or later. For more details about Gradle dependency, class path, and Android Studio plugin configuration, visit the data binding guide on developer.android.com and check all steps and configuration. Now, let's see how data binding can help you write less code. Imagine you want to show some user information like first name, last name, and email. Your layout XML file without the data binding could look like this. And then you would have to implement a bunch of Java code to instantiate the views, find the views, and set the correct values. But now, with data binding, you just have to add a data tag declaration with the variable name and type. And for each view, when you want the data from the object, just refer to the corresponding attribute. All the data will be retrieved from the data object that you declared and populated. This data object could be a plain old Java object, a POJO for that user, or it's also possible to use a Java bean object. Much easier, huh? And to bind events, it's straightforward as well. Bind events to the handler methods directly, similar to what you do using Android onClick when assigning to a method in the activity. But now, let's move on a more complex UI, like this fictional news app. Notice several details like different color for read and unread news or headline colors for breaking news. This would require quite a few lines of code to implement. And again, data binding can make your life easier here. For example, here we have the layout file for the items of the news app, each news. And you can see how we moved the logic of changing the card views background color to red or white to one attribute of the news item class. And moving the logic from the adapter to the XML makes the adapter much simpler, as you can see here. In this example, we just need to create the news item binding and inflate it. And the great thing here is that the news item binding was automatically generated by the data bind library. So for example, if you have a layout file called news item XML, the library will create the news item binding automatically. And after creating and inflating, you return this into a view holder. And on binding view holder is the place where you state the specific view holder is bound to a specific item. And here is the view holder class. As you can see, much simpler. No more find view by ID, no more image view or text view or whatever. It's something you write once and don't have to maintain. You just have to change your item layout if you need, and the library will update all the stuffs. It just works. Another great benefit of using data binding are the custom attributes. You can define some custom attributes like image or L that actually doesn't exist, but you can develop it using some third-party library. Or a color filter option, which you can do easily with a few lines of codes. So after adding the custom attribute to the XML layout file, you have to code whatever you want, a public static method that adds the annotation binding adapter to have that method bound to that custom attribute. And you have no more to add listeners and all stuff you need to perform a specific action. You will no longer need to do find view by ID in any place in your code. For example, if you have an item in your layout with the ID mark red, the library automatically generates a field inside the binding class. And also, if your POJO implements the observable interface or it descends from basic observable, when you call a setter on that POJO, like this set is red to mark this item as red, any UI views in your layout that rely on that attribute will be updated. Other nice trick you have with data binding is that you can use some operators, in this case a null check. So if the author attribute is null, you can use any other string you want. Check the documentation for the handful of other operators that can simplify your code. And also, you can include another layout file and specify an item to be bound for you with this layout. In summary, data binding makes your code shorter, simpler, and easier to maintain. Check out the data bind guide for details, configurations, and more about this new library. Looking forward to see you make your code simpler. Bye!